What's up, everyone? Chris Lopez here, and I've got a great crew to talk about the October trends and some deals up and down the Front Range, Pueblo, Springs, Denver, and Northern Colorado. So have a lot of familiar faces on the podcast with me today. Jenny Bayless down south, Jeff White here in Denver, Steve Medina up north, and Troy Howell with Nova Home Loans to talk lending with us. What's up, everyone?
What's up,
Chris?
How's it going?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to for this month's podcast. I mean, the monthly updates are some of the most fun because we get to banter a little bit, and I always learn something new. But let's start with some just overall trends in the marketplace. Jenny, as usual, we'll start down south. What's up in Pueblo and Springs?
Yeah, what's up is prices. Month over month, we're up 2% and we're up 4% year over year for median sales price. So I thought that was really interesting that we're kind of back at that high point for median. It's kind of as if nothing really adjusted over the last year or so, overall. And then I thought the secondary part that was most interesting was that total active inventory is actually less than it was at this point last year as well. But sales are significantly less than they were at this point last year. So it's like there's no inventory. No one's really transacting. It's just kind of very a dead in a way, a dead market. So, it's kind of interesting. So that, absorption rate is, pumping up the month's supply because no one's really just doing anything. No one's listing, no one's buying, no one's,
How many months of inventory do you guys have built up down there now?
We are almost at 2.9.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Okay. It is growing down there.
Yeah. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But the magnitude of the numbers are also quite low, I think, especially compared to Denver.
Yeah. I mean, but we're seeing similar trends up here in Denver. Like our listings are up slightly by like 3% from this October, last October. But you know what? So are prices. We are up 4% from last year. And actually flat since last month. And so, year over year, that means, hey, prices are growing. And a lot of times, seasonally speaking, going from September, October, we'll see prices decline a little bit. That's a pretty normal historical or a seasonality trend. But now it's staying flat. So we're kind of in the same boat where prices are staying strong, modest appreciation compared to what we've seen historically. But I think it's even with raising rates and inventory building a little bit, the overall limited inventory is still supporting price growth. And, a lot of this data came out, this is for October. And then we had, Troy, that rate drop, I think, right at the beginning of November, early October. I know quite when all the rates moved, but I think it was right after this data came out. I'm curious if anyone's seen any difference since the rate has dropped here about 2 weeks before this recording, or I guess 1 week. What was the exact date, Troy?
Well, really over the last week, we've seen some improvement that's been nice with the pricing. So that's been helpful. About a week last week, we were seeing some improvements starting to happen. So I don't know if it's really taken effect with clients yet, but some of the people that I've had pre-approved, it's kind of helping qualify for a little more purchasing power as you look at the interest rate as it relates to the payment that they're qualified for. Obviously, that increases their purchasing power, which is nice with the improved interest rates.
Okay. I mean,
it all helps.
Jeff or Steve, have you guys seen any type of like uptick in interest or, people on the sideline with this rate drop recently?
I haven't seen anybody start jumping in, but I think it's a little welcome relief that people are starting to see just a little bit of, light, a little daylight on the interest rates. I mean, we've got some of the same things up here. We're, up about 3% on medium price and in Weld and Larimer's, still down just a little bit, but sometimes those are month to month. But we saw a big jump in listings, new listings in Fort Collins and in Windsor, and some of those are jumping up, but we've still got a decent number of days on market. But nothing dramatic has kind of happened. I think you start seeing people. Sometimes people don't check week to week, and they may get it and realize, okay, now it's I'm starting to see something a little bit better. Maybe that's the sign they need to say, okay, you know what, I can do this. I can, per Troy's point, afford just a little bit more, and I can kind of get into those. And there's, maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I know it may be brief, but it does feel like, the constant rise, stopping is a nice feeling for a change.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of my
What are you seeing,
clients,
Jeff?
one of my clients was basically that extra, half point, Troy, decrease gave him additional 25, 30K of buying power, and we were able to lock something up that was that much better of a deal for them and what they're looking for. So it made a huge difference for them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, case in point, for sure.
Yeah, perfect example.
Was it house hack, rental, room by room?
Yeah, travel nurse, house hack, rent by room style. So she's a nurse herself over in Aurora by Fitzsimmons.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
literally
what's
that much, that little price decrease, interest rate decrease gave her that much more buying power to find a better property. She's on
And
that.
you say
threshold.
better property, mean a better property that will get more rents and just create more cash flow?
Yeah, so big, kind of like you probably see this, Jenny, and down there too. It's just in general, the overall market. Like when you had that affordable housing part of the market where you kind of get to entry level house, but if you go a little bit above it, you could get a little bit better quality, a little bit more chances to add more bedrooms, and that's pretty much the story with her. She was around that 450 mark. Right before the rate decrease, and then she went up to like 480, 490. So that little spike gave her that much more buying power.
That's awesome news.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I haven't seen any uptick in just, people I talked with last week or two. But it's nice to see that, hey, people who are in the game, when something changes like that, you hop on it. And that is like, while, prices are staying high, rates are staying up there as well. If you're out there hunting, like there are some good deals to be found, some good opportunities. So like, I think that's a great story to share, Jeff. So thank you.
We'll probably see it more in the numbers as we get through this month, as people kind of jumping in, able to pull the trigger faster. They might have been hemming, and now they can, jump in and go.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk some deals. And we actually have a great deal to talk about. So last time on the podcast, we were talking about the new 5% down conventional program for multis, 2 to 4 units, and had some debates on there. And I think it officially got in the books a couple weeks ago, right, Troy? And then you and Jeff have have a client under contract on one too.
Yep.
I want to talk about that deal and have some debate around 5% down.
Right. Jeff, give us your perspective, and I'll throw in mine.
Yeah, so basically it was a 4-unit at the affordable housing for a 4-unit in Denver, which was around the 800K mark. And before that rule, they'd have to put, correct me if I'm wrong, Troy, 25% down for owner-occupied conventional loan for that place. So 25K of 800,000 is 25% would be what, 200K, something like that.
Yeah.
And then it popped up, and basically it was 2-bed, 1-bath each unit. So 8-bed, 4-bath, 950 square feet per each unit. Communal washer dryer that's coin operated, and just a basic box structure. So it wasn't anything fancy about it. And went after it, and we got under contract. We wanted a little bit, because at that time we went under contract about 2 weeks now, Troy, I think we're at.
Yeah. Yep. Just kind of working through the inspection. And
we did it basically a December 11th close date to give Troy and his underwriting teams enough time to make sure there's no surprises. And that's a huge difference as well. We didn't want to shoot for when that new program went effective on 11/18. We wanted to give a couple weeks there. 5% down, 4-unit, 2-bed, 1-bath each unit, all under market rents at $1,200 each, when it should be closer to 1,800 bucks for market rents. And then the strategy my client wants to employ is Section 8. And right now they're pushing 2,200 for 2 bedrooms. So 2,200, he's going to live in 1 unit with his wife times 3, 6,600. And he'll be able to basically pretty much break even or living for free while living there, even though it's 5% down. So I know, Jenny, you said it's not possible. I just want to show you it's possible.
What is his PITI on that? Just curious.
His all-in payment's probably going to be just a tickle over $6,000. So actually, he'll positive cash flow while he's living there. If he's at $2,200 for the other 3 units, so he's got $6,600 coming in. That'll cover his payment and a little bit then some. So when he eventually moves out, he'll be in a great place. Yeah. Nice work, Jeff.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a great, not everyone wants to do Section 8. I know that. And the market rents are around that $1,800. So if it was just market rents, much harder to break even or cash flow. But by being a little more creative and be willing to do a little more work with Section 8, a little more paperwork, it's absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah,
So, Jeff,
I am.
Sorry, Jeff, would they have been able to get in if the rate change, or I guess the level of down payment had not changed? Would they be able to get in anyway? At that
No,
25?
so that's a perfect example of one that, just husband, wife, they're saving for their next owner. They want to do a house hack, but with that price at 25%, that's a huge down. And that obviously it's a 1972 fourplex that has never been fixed up in 50 years. So needs a lot of work. They would not be able to cover the down payment and all the repairs needed if it was the old way. So this is like a perfect example of someone benefiting from the new rule with Fannie and Freddie.
That's a real game changer for them. I mean,
and it opens up more properties.
Something that's that's amazing.
Absolutely.
So,
I
Jenny,
think they're all in
on
cash,
this?
maybe $50,000 for.
Sorry, you said all in cash is going to be about $50,000.
Yeah, just a real rough round number, and then they just live in it for a year, and it'll be awesome. I think it's going to be a great property for them.
First $200K, right? So that's a huge savings there for, if they're willing to, do the work, and if someone's willing to live in a multifamily, it's absolutely worthwhile.
Yep.
You got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable someday. So
yeah, it's better than rent by the room, so you're not sharing the kitchen with your tenants. You've at least got your own kitchen, your own space.
Yeah, I mean, great job, Jeff. Those numbers really surprised me for a 5% down fourplex here. So I'm curious, with the way the market's going and this new down payment program, is there any the 203K option on here, like the rehab loans? Because you mentioned, it's what you said, 1970s has been updated. It's going to need some cash invested into it, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like terrible. It's more basic. It just looks tired. I'll put it that way. Like this units are just kind of beat up, but I would say rental grade quality, I'd put it average. Like if I had to rate it A, B, C, A being like moving like Terrence Doyle style, like ready to go, like beautiful place. B being the next level below that, and then C being really bad is probably in the B minus range. So it's rentable.
Okay.
It just needs a little touch ups, like some paint, some carpet, stuff like that.
What's their estimated for them to move in and get the rents where they want to go? How much cash will they have to invest into updating, do you think?
Yeah, I would say, based on what their goals are and what I know about Section 8 and what they're looking for, they could probably get away with $3,000 to $7,000, called $5,000 on average per unit to get those kind of up to market. Maybe even a little bit less if they did the work themselves. Okay. So not that much.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
that's really impressive.
Yeah, they're out there. There are definitely more deals out there like that. And this one was this is an investor that had a portfolio of 5 of them too. So it wasn't like this was the only one out there. This one, what makes this one special is 3 out of the 4 leases are month to month. So that's the huge selling point to my buyer. They wanted the flexibility to get those $1,200 a month rents up to the $2,200.
So how long will it take them? How many months? 6 months to implement the business plan?
Yeah, it's a three.
Seems really straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the only thing once they coordinate this. I don't think they'll try to get rid of all those tenants right away. I think they'll stagger them. So I'd say 3 to 6 months is probably their plan to stabilize it, and they'll move into one unit themselves, of course, for the loan program to make Troy happy.
So Jenny, hearing that, does that change your opinion on anything?
I mean, I think that this is kind of all the stars aligned. Do I still think that this strategy is great for just, general blanket population? Probably not. But I am very happy for his clients on that. So, I mean, it sounds great from what I'm hearing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, if people can use it smartly, based on their finances and find a deal like this works, man, geez, what an amazing opportunity. Like,
yes,
there's going to be some really, really good wins, some really good deals people put together.
And Jenny, you have some really cool in the Springs. You have some awesome multis this from the 70s and 80s. I love their multifamily down there.
Yeah, we have most of our fourplexes are in pockets around town. So like if you find one, you'll find multiple fourplexes just kind of like pocketed. But yeah, like you said, a lot of them are built in the 70s and 80s. From what I've been told, kind of a fun fact is that a lot of them used to be previous military use for their housing. And then they ended up just selling them off. I'm like, oh, but I don't know if that's true, but I thought that was pretty interesting if it is.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was true. They did that in DC area where we used to live, Jenny. So I wouldn't be surprised they did it out there in the Springs.
Yeah.
Steve, what are you seeing up north? Any interesting deals you or Newt are working on or have done?
Yeah, I mean, Newt's got a duplex on that's got a nice little cash flow, and I think a cap rate of like 6.5. So he's working on that. Couldn't make it today. The other piece we've been working on, we've seen that new construction has been somewhere around that 10 to 14% of the market, but because people aren't interested in selling and kind of losing, I guess, the interest rate they've been baked in with, new construction and builders are now at about 30% of the market for sales. And so, just going back through seeing how those discounts are working with individual builders and some of their programs is what, we've been working on lately, because there's some that may have $70,000, $80,000 off list price. And, list price is a bit subjective too. So it's kind of like it could be a false front, but there's a couple of them out there that are kind of regularly doing that. And I call them the Goldilocks, because they're not the small ones that are, only building 10 to 12 homes at a time. And they're not the giant ones that are building all over the country that are kind of in the middle, and they may not have all of the financing, but they'll work with buyers to be able to find that right price point that gets them in there. And so that's what, we kind of work on up here, because there's a lot of building going on, and there's still a lot of good deals. And especially this time of year, because we're getting into that, tricky time of the year. Well, guess what? They still need to move them, because they've got, construction crews and others that they want to keep running. They don't just have a bunch of subs that they just say, see you later, because sometimes they don't show back up. So they've got a vested interest in continuing to do that. And so they're willing to take a little bit less to keep kind of the production moving and keep their entire organization kind of moving forward.
Are you seeing more builders offer those lower interest rates, like the forward commitments up there?
Yep. So we're seeing a lot of that. There's some decent VA and FHA programs up here. You're seeing 5.5, 5.99. Those may get a little better now that, some things just got a little bit better. So there's some decent ones there, and they have some pretty good incentives. The thing is for an investor, there's a different set of criteria that you're looking to buy versus, the casual, or not the regular, just homeowner. So there's lots of things that you might not normally think about when you're going to buy it, that you want to live in it and do that. But if you want to buy in it, live in it for a year, and then move out of it, you're kind of looking at the way you can get in and then what the rents might look like on the way out. And those things make a difference. There's certain models up here that have 3 full bathrooms. And if you're going to house hack, that's a really good thing because now you have, kind of more amenities versus half baths and things like that. So, knowing which ones those are is what we spend our time kind of looking at those because they're creeping up in terms of the number of sales because builders have created them from scratch and they're not sitting on, a 2% interest rate that they've got or 2.5% that they want to hang on to. See a little bit more VA activity. It seems like Jenny's probably got some down there, but we've had some folks that are looking to exercise their VA loan opportunities. And so those are always good ones because they can get in, they can figure out how to, cover it and do some house hacking or buy a small multifamily. Those are pretty decent, options in too.
So Troy, looking at these forward commitments with these low interest rates that builders have, I believe those are usually through a building relation or a relationship they have, like in-house lending or joint venture like that. It looks really good on the surface, but are there any pitfalls that people need to be aware of? Like, oh, wow, I see this great rate. Is there like a gotcha or any things that people should be aware of to read the fine print in those situations? Or is it out of your wheelhouse?
I like to always help people look at it. Sometimes just having a consulting role that I can happily provide them with just to make sure that the terms make sense and are good. I've had situations, in fact, Steve and I were talking about it the other day where it's been quite a few years where a buyer was purchasing a home that was on a closeout with a builder and they gave him $100,000 off the price, but he had to use their lender. And so what we ended up doing is took advantage of that $100K and then came back and revamped his loan shortly after because the pricing on the loan wasn't that great, but who's going to turn away from $100,000 discount, right?
Yeah.
You'll take a higher rate of 1/4, 3/8 or whatever it was over where the market's at to get that discount. So we came back. I'm sure the lender's not overly happy about it, but a month or so later, we refinanced it and put him into a lot better interest rate. So he got the best of both worlds. He got the benefit of the discount with the builder, and then he got a better terms on his mortgage going forward.
Ooh, I like that. Cool.
That's a really good point because then we can look at it from all angles, and that's what Troy and I've been doing. There was some up here that, have a 7.6 ARM rate of like 4.6. And, there's some where they're giving discounts on a lot of the options and upgrades. So there's some builders that they don't deal with the options and upgrades. So you got to put in your own yard. You got to do all these other things. You got to put in a fence. You got to put in a landscape. You got to do all that. That's outside the purchase. Some others will let you roll that into the loan, and that gets less expensive when you're looking at the long term because a handful of dollars per month is better than having to put like 10 or 15,000 after the purchase. So being able to look at that loan and what the builder can provide, and then maybe think about, well, that isn't forever. And what Troy can also do is something that I think is really good for all of us to look at because right now, the rates did drop a little bit, but if you have something and say you're going to buy into a new build, would it be better to, buy it and roll as much in as possible, and then take all the incentives, apply it to that, get as much equity going in, and then figure out how to refinance that in the future, because then you can lower your price. The other option is that you work on a buy down on the rate, and then all of a sudden your rate is lower, but it's still not great. But then you had to pay for all these other things outside of that. So we kind of look at those different scenarios and help people figure out like how to get that in the right space. And then it's like there's short term and longer term.
Yeah, 100%.
Jeff, any interesting trends or data points or things you're seeing in your world, either as someone operating room by rooms or helping a bunch of investors, do some creative deals?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely still opportunity for ones that, to me, it's kind of similar to Jenny when I think you had that video or you discussed it last time. It was, if you want a cash flow, you got to be creative. You can't just do the usual things or try to buy down the rate to 4.99. It costs way too much money for that. But you just have to do, what I'm seeing is people that like to do the rent by room. They want to do that extra room, Chris. So they like, instead of doing a 7-bedroom, they want to do an 8-bedroom, because that extra bedroom is like the difference maker to cash flow. And that some investors are willing to do that extra work. Or 6-bedroom to 7 bedrooms. It's kind of rent by room style. I'm seeing more people trying to push the envelope a little bit to get that extra person in there, maybe convert a garage to a bedroom, stuff like that. And then also investors are being more open to alternative strategies besides Airbnb.
Great. So I'm curious next month to see what rates are doing. That's always fun. We've got lots of always data coming out here soon. We'll see what the Fed and what the bond market does. Hoping for that first 5% down multifamily house hacker. Hopefully we can share a win on that deal next time we record, and just overall journal updates. So Jenny, Troy, Steve, Jeff, thank you guys so much for coming out as always. And listeners out there, if you guys have any questions or topics or things you want to learn more about or talk, let us know. Email us, drop in the comments. We always love having feedback and points to debate. All right, everyone, have a great day. We'll see you next month.
You as well. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.